Okay, so today is August 1st. Yes, it is August 1st, 2020. And yesterday, let me see, yesterday. Yep, yesterday. So July 31st, actually, you know what? I should probably film it this way. See if I can do that or not. Okay, so yesterday, a little cookie. Oops, let's see if we can get cookie in the shot. I gave her beef jerky, and I think she really liked it, so she's coming back for more. Okay. So yesterday, kind of in the early hours in the morning, probably 3 a.m. or something, I was on YouTube and I was researching how to heal gastritis. Okay. And I came across someone's channel and it was really inspiring. And then after that, I just kept researching and I ran into a girl who was juicing. She was doing half cucumber. What was she adding? She was doing cabbage. Sorry, raw cabbage, so raw green cabbage, in a blender, and adding water to that. And then she was also adding celery juice. Celeries and apples. So she was making a juice that had, cabbage, celery, and apple, and it was to help heal her gastritis. So then, I did more research, and then it led to me discovering that celery juice specifically is it's kind of like some miracle panacea. It's some cure-all. But it seemed really legitimate based on the testimonials of a lot of people that, claimed that, like me, they had gone to so many doctors, and like me, they had gotten no answers, and they took a bunch of, pharmaceutical medications, and it didn't really help, and it only made things worse, etc. So that was really caught my interest because it was, exactly what my frustrations were, and I'm quite desperate. So I investigated and started learning more about Anthony William, the medical medium. Yeah, so apparently he gets his information from a spirit, which he is able to communicate with. And this spirit kind of has transcendent knowledge, otherworldly knowledge of the origins of chronic recurring illnesses. Basically, I think the spirit's theory, which he transmits through Anthony William, is that toxins in the body, such as heavy metals, and pathogens, such as bacteria or viruses, together in the body as they accumulate in the organs, are what cause most chronic illnesses, such as I think that the ones they mentioned were, things like high cholesterol or digestive issues. They mentioned mental things too, like brain fog. I think they said, autism as well. I think mercury in the spine or something, spinal cord, causes autism. But this spirit has otherworldly knowledge, or how do you say that? It's not otherworldly. It's just like ahead of our time, because doctors today haven't really discovered that, because we have a kind of different way of discovering things through science, and apparently this spirit just knows these things. So normally, I'm just as skeptical as the average person, maybe even more, and but so I wouldn't necessarily believe that, but there were so many videos of people basically on YouTube basically saying that, what I said earlier, that they had been struggling for, a lot of them had been struggling for years, like myself. I've been going on for 4 or 5 years now. And, let's see, that should be an exact thing. So let's see, 2016, I'd say 4 years, over 4 years now. So over 4 years now. And they were really frustrated, and I could sense their frustration because it was the same frustration I have, which is that, we go to doctors and specialists one after another, and we take upper endoscopies, lower endoscopies, both of which are kind of, for the latter, there's preparation for it, which is kind of unpleasant. There's also just a lot of stress in just scheduling these things and just not knowing and just being in the dark, not knowing what you have. And then when they do tell you what you have, so in my case it was gastritis, then they give you these medications that don't really solve the problem. Anyways, they're just kind of masking the symptoms. In the case of gastritis, it's more than masking the symptoms. They're using proton pump inhibitors. What was the name of that? It's like a really common medical name. It's I can't remember it right now, but it's a proton pump, omeprazole. That's what it's called. Yeah, so omeprazole. And I that's the medical name. I don't think I can remember the like popular commercial name. Proton pump inhibitor, omeprazole. It might be Zyrtec or Zantac, one of those. Anyways, it blocks the proton channels in your cell. I think proton channels are in cell walls. Yeah. So it blocks those of the parietal cells, right? So the parietal cells are the specialized cells in your stomach lumen, which is the side of the stomach that faces the acid. And within the cell wall, there's this, this permeable gateway. It's called a channel, I think. So it's a proton channel or an ion channel, proton pump. And it, how does it work? I think it uses, so there's actually different variations of proton pumps, right? There's one that uses ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the body's fuel source. It uses that molecule to power an ion, such as a proton, right? A single proton, so +1 charge, going against the electrochemical gradient. So in other words, going from a place of lower positive charge to a place of higher positive charge, kind of going against nature, and it requires energy input. And then there's another one that does the opposite, where it uses the, going from a high gradient to a low gradient to basically produce ATP. That, I hope I remember that right. It's been 10 years. Well, I mean, I got my master's, so it's been probably, I don't know. It's been 7 years since I last took biochemistry. But the point is that, so the way that these medications work is that they block, they somehow, through some mechanism, block the functioning of that ion channel, so that essentially your parietal cells, your stomach cells, lining cells, they are unable to actually put H positive, so hydrogen ions, into your stomach, the holding area of your stomach. So it prevents your stomach from getting acidic, it prevents your pH from going down. So the problem with this is that there are also other parts of your body, like some of your brain cells also use this very similar proton pump inhibitor. And when you take a drug, any pharmaceutical, that drug has no way of targeting your stomach cells. It goes into your bloodstream, and your bloodstream goes into every part of your body, including your brain, okay? So when that drug, which is designed to inhibit the proton pump function of parietal cells in your stomach, reaches your brain cells, it's gonna do something there too, right? And when your brain electrochemical gradient, is altered because of that, then of course you're gonna have some brain fog or some headaches. I had some, symptoms, which I was really not a fan of, okay? Because I don't like the thought of, getting brain damage or losing IQ points or just losing, or who knows, maybe it'll damage your brain cells in a way that will cause else. I don't know. Nobody knows really. Maybe the spirit knows, But anyways, getting back to the idea of this spirit that talks to this guy, I listened to a couple of his podcasts, and the guy, Anthony William, the medium that's supposedly channeling the spirit, he claims that like none of this has ever been said before. But actually, what he's saying is only true within Western medicine, because in Eastern medicine, so which is the two main ones are traditional Chinese medicine and Indian Ayurvedic medicine. Okay, the latter is a little bit more popular in the United States. TCM is still more of a Asian thing. But anyways, both of these, and I know because I'm ethnically partially Chinese, I know that traditional Chinese medicine has been saying for probably millennia now, because that's how long TCM's been around, millennia, that the liver is an organ in your body which is very much influenced by your emotions, your repetitive, long-term, habitual, pattern emotions. So if you're somebody that is angry all the time, or in your childhood experienced or bottled up a lot of anger, then it's going to affect your liver, and your liver is going to hold on to that and negatively affect, other organs, such as, your stomach. So it'll attack your stomach and cause digestive issues. So my condition, according to TCM, has kind of an emotional repeated childhood trauma origin, which affected my liver, which in turn, my liver wasn't happy, so it attacked my stomach. Okay. So that idea has been around for not just centuries, millennia. Okay. But to the audience which he's mainly addressing, which is probably mainly Americans, who are probably ignorant of what I just said. Of course, there are many Americans that aren't ignorant of that, but the majority of the people he's addressing, when he says things such as, you're never going to hear any of this stuff anywhere. This is completely new. I've been saying this, and science has, many years, decades before they catch up and realize this stuff that I'm saying. That's true for Western scientists in traditional, conventional Western medicine. So that's not necessarily true for traditional Chinese medicine, because TCM has been talking about how, negative emotions repeatedly can damage your liver. So you're somebody that somehow has some reason due to trauma for holding on to a lot of, anger or fear or hatred, then that's going to make your liver unhealthy, and your liver will start affecting the rest of your body, your other organs. Okay, for example, it'll attack your stomach. That's actually the term they use in Chinese. They say that your liver is attacking your spleen, which is, in TCM, your spleen is basically your stomach, digestive system. So anyways, that was a lot of detail, but the point is that I wouldn't even call it research. I was just curious and kind of intrigued, and also very motivated and inspired and hopeful. Although at this point, anyone with any chronic illness can tell you that, you don't get very hopeful after a while, because after the first 6 months, and then the year, and then the 2 years and 3 years and 4 years where you've been Googling and talking to people and just going to so many doctors who have referred you to so many specialists, and nobody out of, probably 20 people, when you combine, all the things that I just mentioned, nobody has any real answer to your problems in terms of saying, this is what's going on, we know for sure, and this is how you can solve it, and giving you a solution. Instead, they have incomplete kind of guesses or theories, right? And then they give you these pharmaceuticals which have a lot of side effects, and oftentimes damage you or make you worse in some way. So you're left kind of where you started, but more discouraged. And so with that in mind, I was very guarded. I had guarded skepticism about this. But I was hopeful. And so I tried it. So he talks about using celery juice, okay, and supposedly this spirit has told him this. And I just thought, man, that's such a specific thing to take, something as benign or just innocuous as a celery stalk, and to think, I'm going to grind it up and I'm going to concentrate this juice. And if you drink this every day in the morning on an empty stomach, then it can pull out a lot of the toxins from your organs, like your gallbladder and your liver. it's just such a specific thing. It's so random that if it actually works, I'm almost kind of inclined to think, like, how, if he was a fake, how did he, like, how would, like, okay, so Uri Geller, the spoonbender, I don't know that much about him. I mean, I think most people, from what I've seen, most people agree that he was a fraud, right? But you can kind of explain that with, oh, he did this and he had this sleight of hand and he heated the metal up. I don't know, whatever. It's explainable. But for someone who's pretending to be a psychic medium to say, hey, we're going to take this very specific plant and we're going to, juice it, and then you drink this every day on an empty stomach in the morning, first thing, 16 ounces, a certain amount. And for him to have all these like theories about how it works, and then to see like so many people on YouTube who do not seem to be paid or anything or have any other motivation to tell the truth other than a genuine desire to share their progress, for the benefit of others. When you see that, you start to think, okay, I'm going to try this, and if it actually works, then I kind of almost want to believe that he maybe really does communicate with a spirit. I mean, I've known one of my friends when I was living. I lived in a place before, and it was a very spiritual place, and she was pretty. She wasn't a crazy person, and she claimed that she could see spirits. So I mean, it sounds like a crazy thing to say that you can see spirits, but then I knew her to be a pretty reasonable, level-headed person, so I didn't necessarily doubt her, just completely dismissed the idea. Then again, I've also met, someone, 1 year ago who some people might say she is crazy, and she would always talk about seeing, stuff, claiming to see gods and angels or otherworldly things, and I don't know. But anyways, the point is that it just seems like I wouldn't necessarily dismiss him outright, even if you're a very skeptical, rational person. I wouldn't dismiss that outright without really doing a lot of investigation and trying to think about it. And I guess at the end of the day, if the remedy actually works and it's effective, does it really matter if it really came from a spirit or not? But okay. But anyways, if you listen to a lot of his podcasts, because I did, since, I've discovered him, I've been listening to a lot of his stuff. It just seems like he has a lot of really, like, the stuff he says, for the explanation he gives on his podcasts about the origins of a lot of common diseases. It seems plausible within the framework that he presents it, and it also doesn't contradict anything that he said previously, which, if you like create a fantasy world, where, you just lie to people and say, there's a ghost telling me the truth of all these things, it's difficult to have all your stuff match up and make sense to a very critical and scrutinizing, extremely intelligent and analytical mind who is very adept at picking out that stuff, right? So I know not everyone probably, anyways, that's hopefully whoever watches this understands what I'm trying to say, but maybe they don't. So, but the bottom line is that you should just try his recommendation. You got nothing to lose. It's about like one package of celery, organic celery. Take it out and juice it without the fibers. Take out the fiber and have that on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. And don't add anything to it, not even water. And just do that. And supposedly this will have a lot of benefits by detoxifying a lot of the organs in your body and pulling out a lot of the harmful things that are actually, according to him, the root cause of a lot of chronic illnesses, such as, a lot of skin conditions he mentioned, eczema, psoriasis. He mentioned digestive issues, gastritis, IBS, GERD. So those three. I can't remember what else he mentioned, but there was a whole host of other things. And supposedly that's what's going on. And the first time I drank it yesterday morning, I did feel something kind of. I don't think it was a placebo effect. It was really kind of. I could really feel something. It just felt like it was between a dull pain and a sharp cramp. So it was more than a dull pain. So I could feel little pulses of pain, but it was not like the pain that I had before. It was like it just kind of felt like something's kind of coming out, like maybe something's being sucked out, and I kind of felt heat too, like it was warm in that area. So it's possible that maybe something really was coming out of my organs. I definitely felt something in there, like when you have problems, chronic, especially chronic illnesses. I shouldn't say that because I don't know. I've never had a acute condition. I've only ever had chronic conditions. So when you have like a chronic stomach problem, it's the first time you really like you become much more aware of your stomach than before. And so if you have a healthy liver as a kid, you're not going to feel your liver. But if your liver or your appendix or something has a problem, then you start feeling it. You kind of realize its presence because your mind is conscious of it because it's giving you pain. But normally, if it's functioning well, you won't even know it's there. You won't really even know which side it's on because you don't really feel it. So, anyways, I kind of felt like, there was something going on, and I don't know if anyone's gonna believe me when I say this, but yeah, but it's kind of there was a heat, there was some pains, but they weren't, and the frequency of aching. It's kind of a once every 10 seconds, kind of a slow pulse wave of a little bit of pain. But it wasn't, it was more like it was a little bit less than a cramp and more than a dull ache. And that pain kind of moved along with the juice that I drank yesterday morning. So after I drank that juice, I didn't actually have diarrhea like most people said. I did kind of keep feeling like I was going to have diarrhea, like that feeling, and then it turned out just to be gas. And that happened, a couple times. And I actually felt more comfortable after passing that gas. Yeah, but I didn't have diarrhea. And then later on in the day, I actually had, no, yeah, when I went to the when I went to the bathroom, it turns out it was just gas. But then I actually tried really hard, and I was almost kind of constipated. And I kind of forced myself to pass, to, what's the euphemism? Eliminate? Yeah, to eliminate just maybe, I don't know, a very small amount, 2 peanuts sized volume. And then it was only later on in the day when I had a little bit of diarrhea, and the way it came out, I took some photos of it, and I can show them here. That's not something that normally people would, but if you're really serious about getting better and the science behind what's going on, like you approach this from a very objective, analytical way, you're not going to get grossed out by, you're going to want to know everything that you want to know. That's how I am. So I'm, probably a lot of people are going to be grossed out, and why would you put that there? But for me, it's science. Like when you're a doctor, you're not going to act petty or immature around stool because it's actually a sign of health. And that's why German toilets, unlike American toilets, they have that little shelf. The traditional German toilets have a shelf so that you can actually view and observe your stool before flushing it, because it's a good indicator of your health. So anyways, so I do have a picture of that, and it was, I imagined that it was all the dead bacteria or whatever, because it looked very different than what I normally see. And that's what I had read, that when you first take the celery drink, that you will have diarrhea, and will, it kills off a lot of bad bacteria while leaving the good. These bacteria, along with the toxins such as heavy metals in your organs, in your organ tissue, are supposedly what's causing your chronic illness, like GERD, gastritis, IBS. So, yeah, so with that, kind of thought in mind, when I looked at that diarrhea, I felt kind of good, like thinking or imagining that, oh, these are all the, the bad things in my body that have been making me sick, and now they're in there, so they're out of my body, and I can flush them, So, but anyways, that day, I felt fine, and yeah, even after I took an afternoon nap where I'm lying down, usually when I wake up, I have this feeling of nausea. I don't know why that happens. I think maybe the acid somehow builds up and it just, inflames my stomach lining. That's what causes the feeling of nausea in gastritis patients, is basically when your stomach lining becomes irritated and inflamed. So one way you can do that is by eating spicy foods. Spicy foods are acidic. They, further deplete the mucosal lumen of the inside of your stomach. And then so now that stomach acid, HCl, hydrochloric acid, is now directly contacting the vulnerable, lumen of your stomach without any mucosal protection. And that causes you to feel nauseous. So that is, that was evidence to me, strong evidence, because that almost never happens where I feel okay after taking an afternoon nap. That the celery was working, celery juice was working. And then that night, I ate a dinner and I was fine. I was like a lot better than I normally am. So today it was day 2, and I took another, round, about 16 ounces. And I didn't really have gas or anything this time. I didn't have that sensation when it was going down. I didn't really have nothing really happened this time. However, I felt good, and I went out and I took a walk. And then today, just now, when I was eating, after breakfast, I was actually still hungry, and I violated a lot of the Ayurveda rules and digestive rules that I've been following. You're not supposed to drink water until 1 hour and 53 minutes, or something like that. 1 hour and 50 minutes after you eat solid food, because you're not supposed to dilute the stomach acid in your stomach and interfere with the digestion of your meal. You're not supposed to eat fruit, after a meal. Actually, I could be butchering that. I mean, I think they say don't eat fruit after a meal immediately, and you have to wait either 30 minutes or an hour. I don't think it's 2 hours. And I think I did do that, so that's fine. We won't use that as an example. But I ate a bunch of stuff. Like I drank water before I was supposed to, and I also ate a bunch of snacks. And this, usually when I do this, when I kind of succumb to this bad habit, I will have nausea and sometimes a slight pain. But this time I didn't, and every 30 minutes, so, I ate at 8 a.m., I ate oatmeal, and I was supposed to stop and not snack, but then I drank water 30 minutes later. Another 30 minutes later, I ate a lot of blueberries, like 3 or 4 handfuls, and an entire handful of strawberries. So that's a lot of fruits I just ate. Well, it was probably an hour later at 9. And then after that, I was still fine and I was still hungry. So then I ate like a bunch of like snacks, which I'm really not supposed to eat. Because they are foods that mess me up. They have a history of making my stomach condition worse. So I ate like what are these crackers with wheat in it. I ate another cracker with, and I ate one of them even had chocolate on it. and I was fine, which was really amazing. So another 30 minutes passed, so now it's like 10 or something, and I'm doing all this stuff and I'm fine for the first time in like 4 or 5 years now. And so I decided, okay, I'm gonna eat this huge potato, sweet potato, and I ate that and I was completely fine still. And then I drank water like right after it, and with all this stuff mixed up in my stomach, which normally you're not supposed to mix all that stuff, I didn't have any issues at all. I didn't even feel like in the least bit nauseous or anything like I normally do, and there was no pain or cramps. And so it's only been 2 days on this celery thing, but it is consistent with what I've seen online with a lot of people. It seems to have some effect. It's definitely more effective than any medication I've taken. And I've taken, I've tried a lot. Just like any person who has gastritis and or IBS, we try everything. Um, and nothing has been effective as this so far in, over 4 years. So, so I did continue to kind of try to push it just because I'm a masochist or something, or a scientist, and I wanted to know, the upper and lower bounds. So I did kind of continue to push it because I'd done all this stuff that I wasn't supposed to do, and I was still feeling okay. So then I ate red hot flaming Cheetos, okay, which are really the worst. I mean, they will completely, it violates a lot of things. Like, it's processed, it's got oil, it's, spicy, very spicy. It has MSG, which is supposedly, according to Anthony William, you're not supposed to eat MSG. It has a lot of MSG. But I ate like, a decent amount, maybe like probably 1/2 handful. So I probably ate like 9 hefty Cheeto pieces, the big ones. Maybe 7, I don't know, probably around there, yeah. And after I ate that, I decided to film this video. So it's been 32 minutes now, and yeah. I do feel it a little bit, and I can hear it. I can hear my stomach gurgling, but it's not nearly as bad. We got some time to go. I mean, this kind of stuff, you got to wait like 6 hours or 7 hours later and do an update. But that was the thing that finally broke it, but the fact that, I can do everything else before that and just be like at the time when I ate that sweet potato, I had the feeling of hunger, of unrestricted, unafraid hunger that I haven't had. Like, it reminded me of my childhood. Okay, so 20 years back, when I was a teenager, and is that right? Let me do the math. Yeah, 20 years ago, I was a teenager, and I remember being a teenager and just being really hungry, and just seeing whatever I could eat, like a donut here or an apple here or orange juice here, and I would just stuff it all in my mouth because I was on my growth spurt, and I would just eat all of it, and I would feel full and kind of uncomfortable, but at that point, that's just like a normal, thing. It's not like because you have weak digestion or whatever, your digestion at that age is very strong, and especially when you're growing, you have a strong appetite, so you have a lot of hydrochloric acid in your stomach to digest. Your digestive fire, if you want to use Ayurvedic terms, your digestive fire, your Agni, is so strong that you can kind of do all these bad eating practices, like mixing cooked and uncooked foods, eating fruits right after a meal, drinking water and soda and sugar during the meal, and it doesn't matter. You'll have no problems because you're, a teenager and your digestive fire is strong. It's just like throwing all that stuff into a furnace. You don't have to sort it out because it'll just burn it all, and you'll be completely fine. And that's kind of like the feeling that I had, like that invincible feeling that I haven't had in 2 decades. That's how I felt when I was eating that potato. It was like the first time that, in a long time that I could remember just eating because I was hungry and not being afraid or guilty of eating because I knew subconsciously that, oh man, if I eat this, I'm going to feel it in, half an hour or 2 hours or 6 hours. I'm going to feel um, really nauseous, and I'm afraid of that. And so I can't really enjoy this. I have to eat it in a kind of reserved way, like half dreading what's going to happen. Can you imagine what that does to your life when you have that like every day for many years? There's a lot of mental, um, there's a lot of mental heaviness when you have that uh, in the back of your mind that you can't even eat, you know, and enjoy like the most basic fundamental process of nourishment that all organisms, do on a regular basis. They take for granted. You can't, because you have to just think. That's I think that people not having this, that are watching this video, will not understand that. It's like having a basic freedom taken away. It's like you will never appreciate your freedom until you go to jail, even for 24 hours, for jaywalking, or I don't know, jumping a turnstile in the New York City Metro, and you get thrown in jail for 24 hours, or maybe for whatever reason you know you're in there for 48 hours or whatever, and then when you come out, you will appreciate your freedom, and you'll just be in your room by yourself during quarantine, and you'll be so happy because you'll remember the time that you didn't have your freedom, and you'll be like, man, I might be in quarantine, but life's still good. You know why? Because if I wanted to, I could walk out that door and I could go to a fast food restaurant and order uh, a sandwich or a hamburger, if I wanted to, with a mask, obviously, through the drive-through. But you appreciate and don't take for granted things that once you lose them. And so for people that have never had IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, for people that have never had GERD, for people that have never had stomach issues like gastritis, or any chronic debilitating issue, that hinders your ability to take on nourishment that will make you healthy and happy and functional. Especially when you do that at a young age, in whether it's in your late 20s or your early 30s or your 40s, where you're supposed to be kind of at the peak of your vitality, and you're just thinking that, my life's just being wasted away. I'm weak and I'm held down in all aspects because of this very fundamental and problem that I have. For people that have never felt that, you will never understand what it's like. You can only kind of do it vicariously through someone describing it, but you'll never understand what it's like I said, to have your freedom taken away until you've been in jail for a while. And then you can just be in the shittiest situation in your life, and you'll still be thinking like, I'm free. I'm still free. I still have my freedom. I may, my net worth may be negative 20,000 because I just graduated from college. Or if you went to Columbia like I did, your net worth might be negative 45,000 after 1 year. Anyways, but then you're free, and so it's the same way with your stomach. Like, if you have never had that feeling, that cloud over your head every morning that you wake up, and every night before you go to sleep, you have this cloud hanging over your head, so that everything in your life is colored in a gray and dark, kind of gloomy shadow, because you can never really be fully have full vitality. If you've understood that, it's because you've had it. And if you've never had and experienced that, you will never understand it. But I do remember, a time maybe 3 days ago where I fasted for, I think, like 32 hours or something. Yeah, 32 hours or 33 hours, somewhere around there. And the day before that, I had done a 24-hour fast, like an exact 24-hour fast. And after that, I did like a 32-hour fast twice in a row. I was really hungry, and, my stomach was really kind of suffering a little bit. But I uh, I just had that thought, like, well, I have my freedom. you know. I was so hungry that I was lightheaded.